Hello, my name is April Rose Inhambre, and today I'm going to talk about the issues on human development. So many developmentalists debated about issues on human development, even until now. So before I talk about the three major core issues on human development, I will give you a summary first about what is human development. So, human development is the capability for long and happy life. It involves living a long and healthy life. It's not about how much money you get, but how much you invested on people. Next, freedom to decide. So, human development is about giving people more freedom to live lives they value or to live the life they want to be or be what they want to be. Next, more choices for people. So here, human development is about more choices. So it's about providing people with a lot of opportunities, but not insisting that they make use of them. They're just going to choose which one is more suitable and more beneficial for them and could relate to them as well. Next, lead a life in dignity. So it means being valued and respected for what you are, what you believe in, and how you live your life. And also, treating others with dignity means treating them the way we'd like to be treated ourselves, too. Now I'm going to talk about the three major core issues of human development. First, we have nature versus nurture. Second, continuity versus discontinuity. And third, stability versus change. First issue I'm going to talk about is nature versus nurture. How do genetic inheritance and experience influence our development? Is it through nature, where human behavior is determined by genes, or is it through nurture, where human behavior is influenced by the environment, or is it both? Or let's say, which one contributes more, heredity or environment, in influencing human development? So this debate is one of the oldest issues in both philosophy and psychology. And even until now, there's still an ongoing discussion or debate towards this. Nature. Behavior is caused by innate characteristics. So from the word innate, which means inborn or natural, it means that all possible behaviors were already present at the time of conception, when babies are still in their mother's womb. Refers to all of the genes and hereditary factors. So genes and hereditary factors influence who we are, from our physical appearance to our personality characteristics. So there are a few examples of biologically determined characteristics, including certain genetic diseases, right? Genetic disease. So genetic disease runs, or diseases that runs in the family. So it's passed down from one or both parents to a child, who may then pass it to his or her children. Example of genetic disease is Down syndrome. And other characteristics include eye color, hair type, and skin color. So for example, my mom, she has curly hair, and me too, I have curly hair. But my siblings all have straight hair. And okay, so right, it is influenced by genes. Next is Plato. Oh no, aspects of development are distinctly biological, such as puberty, right? Puberty, it's a natural process of human beings. So all all children undergo, or all children go through the biological developments of puberty. Next, philosophers like Plato and Descartes support on inborn ideas. So they believe that ideas Behaviors and personalities are inborn or natural. Next, language acquisitions emphasize the biological influence. So, the ability to learn language is something that is already wired into our brains at birth or during the time of conception when our mom were talking to us, and that's the time as well that we were processing those words, the languages that our moms have been using too. So that's all about nature. Nurture. One's behavior is determined by the environment. Nurture refers to all the environmental variables that impact who we are, including our early childhood experiences, how we were raised, our social relationship, and our surrounding culture. So, John Locke's concept of tabula rasa. So thinkers such as John Locke argued for the concept of tabula rasa. The tabula rasa means a belief that the mind is a blank slate at birth, with only experience determining our knowledge. So it's like we were born an empty vessel. We didn't know anything. Okay? Next, depends on environmental influences and not genes. So more on environmental factors and not biological factors. Next, puberty can be affected by the environment. So earlier, right, we were talking about puberty as a natural process of human beings. So all children undergo puberty. But the onset of puberty can be affected by environmental factors such as diet and nutrition. Next, language acquisitions emphasize influences of learning. So, the child must hear language that is properly pronounced and grammatically correct in order to develop linguistic fluency. So that's why parents, teachers, other people usually correct the mistakes of a child if in terms of words, languages, grammar, so that they could develop fluency. Okay, and next, interaction between nature and nurture. Behavior is often a result of the interaction between nature and nurture. So today, most psychologists believe that these two forces causes development. So heredity and environment operate together. Without genes, there is no person, and without environment, there is no person. Our genes influence how we interact with our environment. So our unique experiences in our environment influence whether and how particular traits are expressed. So, for example, right, you've already have this kind of trait, outgoing. So you are going to be more outgoing if ever you are going to be influenced by your peers or people surrounding you. So experience also makes the best of your traits as well. Next, a reciprocal interaction between nature and environment. So there is a reciprocal interaction between the two of them as they both shape who we become. But as I mentioned earlier, before I discussed about nature versus nurture, that the debate still continues as to the relative contributions of each. So until now, it's an ongoing discussion. Thank you. So now I'm going to talk about classroom application in terms of nature versus nurture. So teachers must understand that there are certain biological influences that affect student learning. So in that case, some students may have certain talents that makes learning easier, but others don't. So we must be able to differentiate learning to reach all types of learners. So environmental factors do influence learning. So however, if all learning were determined by nature, so when the student's mindset is that I'm slow in learning, I should give up, or I'm not good at this subject, I'm not good at math, I should give up. So it's really difficult for teachers to play much of a role in learning. So that's why we see that environmental factors do influence learning. So for what reason we must be able to create a positive learning environment for our students and support them in a positive manner. So here teachers can be the support and role model to help students meet those environmental factors needed for maximum learning. So for example, in my line of work, um, I'm teaching English to foreign foreign nationals. For example, most likely my students are Japanese. Most of my students are Japanese since I'm a Japanese speaker as well. So they usually choose me as their teacher since I could express or explain further in Japanese if ever they couldn't understand the materials. And also, it's very important for me in handling new students to know their capacity of learning English. So first, for my first time students, or I usually assess first how they have a conversation in English, or do they have difficulty expressing themselves well. So that's why I could know which materials are suitable for them. So that's why teachers should always support them positively. So if ever they make mistakes, they should not be scolded for that, or they should be positively corrected or politely corrected. And teachers, in my line of work as a teacher, I'm a role model for them. So I usually tell or role model as well as maybe considered as a friend. So it's like I always ask them not to hesitate if ever they have difficulty with it, or if ever they have questions, they should always ask the teachers or me about it. And it's very important for me to give feedbacks to them as well as asking them what they have learned in my class so that I could know that the materials were suitable, as well as I could know that they learned from my class. Now I'm going to talk about the second major issues of development. It's continuity versus discontinuity. So is development a gradual, continuous process, or does it proceed through the sequence of separate states? These two competing theories in developmental psychology attempts to explain how people change through the course of their lives. Continuity. Change is gradual. Many continuity theories believe human development is continuous with no abrupt change. Quantitative, quantitative, augmenting the same type of skills that were already there. So, children, for example, children become more skillful in thinking, talking, or acting much the same way as they get taller. So they're just going to develop more of the traits that they already have until they grow up. Discontinuity. Discontinuity is an abrupt shift. One's goals in life might change as we move through the lifespan. And discontinuity theory instead contends that people change abruptly, right? Qualitative. New ways of understanding emerge at specific times. So the discontinuity views his development as more abrupt a successions of changes that produce different behaviors in different age-specific life period called stages. So there are a lot of theories supporting this idea. And for an example of discontinuity is that when a child is really shy when he was still very young, but later on when he goes to school, he is influenced by his peers, his classmates, his friends. That's why he became ongoing. So that's why it changes his personality at that time. So that is discontinuity. I'm going to show you a chart of continuity versus discontinuity. So continuous over time and discontinuity is abrupt shift, right? So here, as you can see in continuous development, from infancy to adulthood, it's like a smooth course. Like if ever the the child develops this kind of traits, he or she is just going to develop it more. And next, in discontinuous development, as you can see here, it's more like a stair. So right, there's abrupt change from infancy to adulthood. So there's going to be changes happening in discontinuous development. So now I'm going to talk about continuity and discontinuity being applied in a classroom setting. So here it is vital to understand both area of continuity and discontinuity. And because they both have merits or good points when it comes to human development. Children should be on track developmentally. In the classroom, it's important for teachers to know how and when children learn certain things so we can prepare proper curriculum and know if the children are on track developmentally. Okay, for example, in continuity, teachers need to set expectations. For teachers, they need to provide or set some expectations in every classroom and create experiences that children can build off and continue to grow. So if ever a teacher is teaching this subject to a student, but even though other students already understood this, but some aren't, so it's very important to know if or to note that something is wrong and teachers can address the issue. With discontinuity, teachers develop learning goals in certain stages, right? Earlier, discontinuity is all about stages. So, discontinuity also plays a role in the classroom because we can look at certain stages and develop learning goals and expectations for that stage of period, right? For example, in kindergarten, it's very important for students to learn more about alphabets or simple reading, um, numbers, but as they maybe turn to or they're going to proceed to elementary stages at that time, it's better to teach them, for example, multiplication at around the same age because their cognitive abilities tend to be ready for this step at a certain age or time period. So children's cognitive abilities tend to be ready in each age or in a certain age or time period of their lives. So, in my line of work, teaching Japanese students or foreign nationals, like some of my most most I teach students with regards to different age. Okay, so I think I taught a 2-year-old kid and maybe an 80-year-old senior. So it's kind of, it depends on the ages of my students. So I really need to set some expectation on what especially their cognitive abilities or their abilities in learning. I need to set some expectations and goals for them, depending of their age, depending of their capabilities, and how they will progress in learning English. Now I'm going to talk about the third major issue of human development, which is stability versus change. So do our early personality traits persist through life, or do we become different person as we age? So here, characteristics of individuals remain constant over time, or some characteristics change with time. So those people that believe in stability feel that personality traits that develop in the first few years can predict the traits that develop in adulthood. And those that believe in change feel that traits can change gradually over time with the influence of culture and environmental factors. Stability. The psychoanalytic theories of Sigmund Freud tend to support the idea of stability when it comes to developing personality because they focus on events from early childhood, and Freud believed much of a child's development is established by the age of 5. Next, attachment of parent or individual and child that continues throughout the lifetime. So right when the child has been spending a lot of times with his or her parents or individuals like teachers, caregivers, they could have a big impact on the child's development. Next, what mothers do during pregnancy can be a big impact on the child's development and behavior in later life. So, right, it's very crucial for pregnant women to always take care of their health, their baby during pregnancy, since it will give a permanent like results for the child in his or her development in later life. So change. Change theories feel that childhood events do not necessarily have a dominating effect over behavior throughout life. So I think many children that have difficult childhoods in terms of maybe abuse and poverty overcome these events and become well-rounded and productive adults. So it's like even though they came from poverty or they were exposed with abuse during their childhood times, it doesn't mean that when they grow older, they will still continue being they will still continue being or living in a life of poverty or exposed with abuse. Mm. So in this case, another example for with depending on personality is that how a shy child may become outgoing and extroverted as they grow into adulthood, right? The personality changes so that from a shy child to an outgoing person, right? Now I'm going to talk about how stability and change be applied in a classroom setting. So teachers believe in change. The reason teachers teach is because they believe in change and that children can change and become more than they thought they could. Therefore, teachers must provide the experiences and lessons that can shape learning and change in children. I think this also affects the behavior of the children in the belief of what they accomplish. And growth mindset is vital in education. Having a growth mindset is vital in education when students feel they are not smart and they can't learn, they are falling into the stability mindset. So right, if ever they're going to fall in that kind of mindset, it's difficult for them to achieve or develop their potentials in achieving. So the growth mindset is where they believe they can change and learn, and that's where teachers will help them implement this kind of mindset to their students. So now I'm going to talk about how the first 9 months shape the rest of your life. So this article was published in Times Magazine. So what makes us the way we are? So is it because it's in our genes, or we turn out the way we do because of our childhood experiences? Another question is, why are some people prone to sickness and others are not? Is it because our health and well-being stem from the lifestyle choices we make as adults? So these are the possible questions and answers that um, makes us understand how we become as what we are right now. But there's another powerful source of influence many people may not have considered: life as a fetus. Okay? So the nutrition you received in the womb, the pollutants, drugs, and infections you were exposed to during gestation, your mother's health and state of mind while she was pregnant with you, all these factors shape you. For example, right? Um, if a mom or if a mother during pregnancy smokes or drinks alcohol, it really affects the baby's maybe state of mind, intelligence, sanity, or possibly the physical appearance of the baby. So right, it's very crucial during pregnancy that that mothers will take care of themselves, since it will have a um, permanent results in terms of intelligence or um, functions of the organs, uh, physical appearance. So it really is necessary for pregnant women to take care of their health during pregnancy. And I'm already a mom. I have a I have a 4-year-old son. And during my pregnancy, I made sure that I gave my son the proper nutrition he needed inside my womb. But unfortunately, during my 7 months of pregnancy, I got diagnosed with gestational diabetes, maybe because um, I was eating a lot, maybe because of my eating habits during that time of pregnancy. So that's why after being diagnosed with gestational diabetes, I decided to force myself to eat healthier food and to check my sugar daily, and just to make sure that my son was doing okay. I got like almost weekly doctor's appointment at that time until the time I gave birth. So, and also I always follow what the doctors told me to do, and drink the medicines, the vitamins that are needed for my son at that time. So I think just in my personal experience, I think the time that I was during that time of pregnancy wherein I took care, I like tried my best to take care of my body as well as my son, drinking all the vitamins needed, and during the time I talked to him, every day I talked to him, even if he's not responding during the first few months of pregnancy. But right, I could really during maybe the 7 or 6, I could recall 6 to 7, 8, 9 months of pregnancy, when I'm talking to him, I could feel that like the kicking. So maybe that time he was responding. So I think it's very crucial for mothers to always talk to their babies in their womb. So um, newly mothers should consider being careful when during the time of their pregnancy, so that their babies will not have problems in terms of maybe intelligence, or physical appearance and organs functioning, etc., that may affect their life until old age or their life. Mhm. So it's very important to consider this. Thank you very much.